Right, so in this lesson, which is not going to be too long because I'm trying to keep them short and sweet, as I know that a lot of people have been emailing saying that they've got a lot of work on at the moment. So I'm going to keep this one nice and simple because it actually finishes off this section that we're on. If I just get that up, it finishes off this section here. So we've just done this section. We'll do characters, which is easy. And then we'll go on to images and sound again, which we have covered a little bit, some of these, but I want to make sure we've covered them because then we can finish off with this, and we've done 1.2 unit, and then we're actually still on track, so it won't have affected us too much. So, you know, these are quite good ones for home. Anyway, so I'm waffling. So character sets, basically, how do you store text on a computer? Well, it doesn't take a genius to realize that you give them numbers. Okay, so A could be 0, B could be 1, blah, blah, blah. Now, they didn't, as a lot of computing doesn't get designed at that time, it evolves, and so they were already having these things like, you know, sort of not faxes, they were like messages sent. So they already had some numbers being used. So anyway, someone in America came up with ASCII, which stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. It is where they allocate 7 bits because the 8th bit was used to check for errors. But don't worry about that. All you've got to know is that ASCII was originally 7 bits. So what that means is that each letter is made up out of 7 ones and zeros. Okay? Now, obviously, when you've only got 7 symbols, or 7 ones and zeros, you have a range of how many numbers, letters you can have. So if it's got 7 bits, then that is 0 to 127. Okay? The way to work it out is to write out a 7-bit, 7-bit number with all ones, and then do the math. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. And if you add them all together, you'll get 127. And obviously 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 is the lowest. So it goes from 0. I think that's too many zeros. No, it was right. 0 to 127, giving us 128 symbols. Okay. In the exam, for simplicity, they will do ASCII using 8 bits just for simplicity. But they'll still only be 0 to 127. It just means that they'll just put a pointless 0 at the front, just to keep it sensible. Right, so anyway, this was brilliant in the old days, but in the modern era, this is not acceptable because we have more symbols than just the English alphabet. But of course, here is a copy of the table. Okay, so 32 is space, 68 is a capital D, and 98 is a B. And actually, you can, if you type on your, you can't see me do this, but I'm holding down the left Alt key, and I'm typing a number on the numpad on my keyboard. So if I type 78 and let go, that's going to give me a capital N. If I do Alt 79, that's going to give me a capital O. So you can try the numbers if you want. Let's try that one. 111 I tried. Yeah, little O. So that's what ASCII is. Okay, really simple. Just understand that it's sequential. They often ask you in an exam, like, write out the ASCII for hello, lowercase or something. You do not have to remember this in any way, but they'll give you a letter. They'll say like, and they'll say E is 101. And then you've got to calculate what the other letter numbers would be. Just understand that it's sequential. Yeah. Now, there you go. So that's basically ASCII. But the problem is this wasn't acceptable for the modern era. So they came up with something. They did do have something called extended ASCII. But in the end now, we don't have to learn about extended ASCII, but we now use Unicode. I'm not going to show you the table because it is, as you can see here, 65,536 different numbers, because you do even get bigger ones than this. You get like Unicode 32, which is a ridiculously large number. But 16 bits is quite a lot of symbols. So this one can have 65,536 symbols. Okay? And I said here, you do get different bit depths, but it's normally 16-bit. So for compatibility, Unicode is compatible with ASCII. So that is the first 128 characters of Unicode. They've kept the one with ASCII. So that way, if you're just using a Unicode system and you load a file that uses ASCII, then it's all good because the Unicode, the first 128 symbols are the same. Obviously, then it has symbols, the French E, other languages, lots of other symbols in math. Okay, so yeah, that's basically why Unicode was invented and created. So what I would like you all to do is a nice sort of light-hearted piece is I want you to draw out a nice poster that we could stick in our books on paper. Yes, you've got to do some actual drawings that just has a little explanation of how computers store text, So using numbers, there was ASCII originally. Okay, don't draw out the table, but you might want to give an example. You could even do a little example of what like hello is. So you could say like, hello, and then you could show the numbers underneath, and then whatever. So, and then you got to discuss about Unicode and why it was brought in, and that reason is because of the modern era has use of other languages, other symbols, expansive symbol list. But there you go. So that's what you've got to do. You've got to create a nice, colourful poster, take a photo of it, upload it on Teams, and that is your task. Not too difficult.